Again, your immune system has two responses. It will always start with a non-specific response, but then we also have something called a specific response that we can help our immune system to gain. And the specific response is going to work a lot better and be a lot more don't know what word I'm looking for here, but it's gonna do a lot more than the non-specific response and work a lot faster. So together, these responses provide your body with immunity, which is what you want for certain pathogens and diseases that you don't want to get. Immunity is your body's ability to resist the germs that cause a particular disease. So if you got the polio vaccine when you were little, then you have an immunity build up to polio or the chickenpox vaccine or other things like that. So your non-specific immune response. Again, it's not specific, so it's going to get triggered when any pathogen enters your body. Then your immune system's going to react with that non-specific response. Usually a lot of white blood cells. It's going to begin with the inflammation, wherever the pathogen entered and whatever part of your body is irritated, whether it's a cut or your throat or your eye, that's going to trigger your brain and send a message up there and say we need white blood cells to come to this area and destroy the pathogen. Then your higher body temperature makes it harder for the pathogen to reproduce. So when you have a fever and you're really hot, it's, our first instinct to give ourselves medicine to eliminate the fever, but sometimes it's not the worst thing to let your fever fight off that pathogen or disease for a little longer. We don't want to have a fever for long amounts of time, and we don't want to have one that's too high because it can do more damage than good to our body. But being kind of warm is a sign that maybe your body's fighting something off, and if you only had a fever and that's the only thing you felt, then your body has a strong immune response, and it might have been more specific than non, but again, you're going to have that fever that is also going to signal your body to produce even more white blood cells. You need those white blood cells to fight and destroy the pathogen that's multiplying. So kind of like the battle of like two armies, and you want to have more guys than the other army so you can take them out easier. It's less work for you. Then we have your specific immune response. When pathogens survive this non-specific response, our body then starts to recognize pathogens that it's already battled. So when we talk about our immune system, there's something that comes later, and it's called the memory cells. And what they'll do is they'll recognize the pathogen that it's already battled, and if it comes into your body again, it can destroy it a lot quicker. So you have a much quicker response with this. The immune system works against a specific antigen by producing an antibody. So this is how our specific immune system is going to function. An antigen is any substance released by invading pathogens. So the pathogen or germ enters your body and it starts releasing these antigens that are going to make you sick. Our body then produces something called an antibody, which are proteins that attach to the antigens, keeping them from harming the body. So if the pathogen enters and it's a virus, we're going to make viral antibodies, and they're going to attach to the antigens and kind of almost just make them eliminated. They'll still be in the body, but they will no longer be able to cause harm. So if you think of the antigen floating around causing harm, the antibody could be like a little hat that jumps on and attaches, and now it can no longer harm the body. And then the white blood cells can come through, and it's easier for them to destroy them. We have two types of immunity when it comes to our specific immune response. We have something called active immunity, where your body has a pathogen enter it and it's actively making antibodies. So if I got the flu and my non-specific immune response wasn't able to kill it off before I got sick, then my body would remember whatever strand of the flu I got and it would make antibodies. Then maybe if I got the same strand of the flu later, which is rare because the flu changes and mutates a lot, I would be able to hopefully destroy it a lot quicker and not get as sick as I did the first time. Then we have something called passive immunity. This is the immunity that we can give ourselves for protection. They're antibodies already made and introduced into the body for protection. Our body doesn't need to do anything. This is your flu shot. This is your vaccines. I always hear, I never get the flu shot because the flu shot gives me the flu. That is what the vaccine is supposed to do. It's introducing the body to, deactivated viruses of the flu. You might feel a little sick after getting a flu shot, but that's just your immune response kind of kicking in and making those antibodies and memory cells so that we can remember it for next time. So if you have a slight response after getting a vaccine, that's why when little babies get like their 3 shots at one time at their like 9-month checkup or whatever, they usually kind of have a fever and they're really sleepy and they don't feel super good. It's because their body is responding to the vaccine and it's making those antibodies and memory cells. So if that body was to come in contact with polio, because people aren't vaccinating their children anymore, then we would be able to say, okay, I already know what that is. I'm going to destroy it before this disease takes over my body. We have something called our lymphatic system. I don't expect you guys to memorize this. It gets a little complicated, but it's nice just to kind of put in perspective. It's kind of like a secondary circulatory system. So if you think about your circulatory system, which my 7th graders have been talking about this year, 8th graders probably don't remember talking about it that much from 6th grade. That was a while ago. But, we circulate our blood. Our blood holds, our white blood cells, our red blood cells. It's got the plasma. It has oxygen and nutrients that it delivers to cells in our body. So kind of our secondary symptoms is our lymphatic system, or you might have heard of lymph nodes. That's where these are. And it helps the body fight pathogens and maintains its fluid balance. So you have something called lymphocytes. It's the white blood cells in your lymphatic system. Your white blood cells are known as B cells and T cells. Not super important to know, but that's what they are. We'll talk about those later. And you have something called macrophages. They help the lymphocytes recognize the invaders by surrounding them and destroying them. And we're going to watch a short clip of the lymphatic system to kind of make more sense of how things respond in the body when we have a non-specific or specific immune response. And that's what this is, and I will play it in the next video section.